Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And that's your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. From timcast.com, dozens of police, Chicago police, I should say, turned their backs on Mayor Lori Lightfoot at hospital after two officers shot. One was shot and killed. One is fighting for their life. The officer that was killed is a young lady. It's unbelievable. Anyway, dozens of Chicago cops turned their backs to Mayor Lori Lightfoot at the University of Chicago Medical Center after two officers were shot in the city. The shooting left Ella French, a 29-year-old new mom, dead, and a male officer in critical condition. Wow, where's the protest? I'm sorry, where's the rioting? Where's the protest? Where's the rioting? Where's the protest? Oh, wait a minute, they're the same thing. French died Saturday night at the University of Chicago Medical Center after the officers were both shot during a traffic stop. And there you have it. There they are, hunting people, right? Jesus. How do people fall for this crap? And I don't mean about the police officers. I mean the media twisting of the truth that police officers are hunting down people, especially people of color, and blah, blah, blah. What a crock of crap. Meanwhile, dozens and dozens every weekend, young black men are gunned down in Chicago. And this is what you hear from the Chicago mayor's office. That's what you hear. It's insane. Let's read on. When Mayor Lightfoot arrived to the 7th floor of the hospital, approximately 30 law enforcement officers turned their backs to her. Chicago Sun-Times reports that Lightfoot tried to talk to the male officer's father, who himself is a retired Chicago police officer. He clearly wanted nothing to do with Lightfoot, according to two sources who were there. The father excoriated the mayor and blamed her for what had happened. One source said Lightfoot handled herself well as the father yelled at her. She listened and treated him with respect. Yeah, because this is all about optics. This is all about, I really care about the officers. Meanwhile, let's defund them and call them monsters, and let's call them people just hunting down black people, and they're all racist, and that's the problem why there's so many killings in Chicago. It's not a social problem, it's a police problem. It was then suggested that Lightfoot say a few words to nearby grieving officers, but as she approached, they walked away from her to the other side of the bank of chairs, turned their back, sources said. They did the about face. It looked like it had been choreographed, said one of the sources present, calling it astounding. Choreographed? Of course. This POS comes in, we're going to turn our back on her. Of course. A source told the newspaper that Lightfoot appeared to be shaken before going downstairs to speak to the press. These people, I mean, they're even close to living in the real world. Even close. I don't get it. I really don't. Is it really true that they just live in this bubble and they have no clue what the real world is like? That has to be it. Because there's so many mentally deficient leaders in this country. We're in a lot of trouble. The officers' decision to turn their backs on the mayor while waiting with the family on the 7th floor was significant. Of course, said FOP President John Canstanzara told the paper. Turning their backs to the mayor was an example of how the hundreds of police officers felt awaiting outside the hospital. They have had enough and are no longer going to remain silent anymore. Now, here's the thing I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement. I always have been. I live in upstate New York. I'm a former city council member. So we used to interact all the time on budgets and policy and all kinds of stuff. Back in the early 2000s when I was a Democrat, and not anymore. I left the party in 2013. People, men and women of law enforcement, especially in the larger cities, Stop doing the bidding of these pieces of blank. Stop being their authority, especially during the lockdowns. If a small bodega, a small restaurant, a nail salon, whatever it is, wants to stay open, do not go there to close them down. They took an oath. And I applaud them turning their back, especially Lightfoot. My God, my God. She might even be worse than de Blasio, and that's a huge, huge bar to jump over, I'll tell you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that it's not unbelievable they did it. It's unbelievable that Lightfoot was shaken. And here's the Twitter. Cops in Chicago have had enough of Lightfoot. They turned their backs on her while she visited Ella French. You know, here we go. Representative Jim Jordan, this is all clear. COVID-19 spreads at church, school, Trump rallies, motorcycle rallies, but it doesn't spread at peaceful protests, the southern border, Democrat wedding receptions, San Francisco hair salons, Governor Newsom's dinner, President Obama's birthday party. It's pretty good. And, you know, unbelievable. Unbelievable. But we're off track a little bit with the rest of the tweet there, but you get the idea. In a statement about the incident, Mayor Lightfoot's office said, now is not the time for decisive and toxic rhetoric or reporting. Are you out of your mind? Is this woman insane? Oh, she clicks all the boxes for the progressives. She's gay and she's non-white. And a woman. That clicks 3 boxes. She must be perfect. Divisive rhetoric? That's all that comes out of this woman's mouth. It's about white supremacy and racism, why there's so many killings, because young black men are dying by the hundreds and thousands in Chicago over the years. By each other's hand, I might add. But that's all about racism. That's not divisive. It's out of control. Your ideology is toxic and it's poison. It makes it worse. It kills people and destroys the country that you live in. The mayor was present in the emergency room to offer support and condolences to the families involved and the hundreds of line officers and exempts who were there, which she did. In a time of tragedy, emotions run high, and that is to be expected. Patronizing piece of blank. The mayor spoke to a range of officers that tragic night and sensed the overwhelming sentiment was about concern for their fallen colleagues. As the mayor stated, now is not the time for divisive and toxic rhetoric or reporting. Piece of crap. This is the time for us to come together as a city. We have a common enemy, and it's the conditions that breed the violence and the manifestations of violence, namely illegal guns and gangs. All right, you know what? I'll give him a little attaboy. Illegal guns and gangs, not legal guns. It's amazing. They always scream and holler in Chicago. We have some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. But yet all the guns are coming from Indiana and we can't stop them. It's Indiana's fault. Well, if guns were the cause of all this violence, why isn't the gun violence, higher in Indiana than Illinois, especially Chicago? There's some decent-sized cities in Indiana. Indianapolis is good size. Do they even have close to the murders per 100,000 that Chicago has? Not even close. But there's a lot of guns there. Wait a minute. None of these things jive. None of these things jive. What is the number one, black young men, what is the number one draw to gangs? To feel accepted, to feel wanted, to feel part of something. And 70 to 80% of those young black men have no father or father figure in their life. Period. The Democrats and the progressives made sure of that, especially with the welfare state, the way the rules are set. A father lives in the home, whether the parents are married or not, you lose tons of benefits. So the father just walks away. Just walks away. What else can he do? Even if he wanted to stay, he couldn't. It's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. It's so incredibly, the hypocrisy of it. I mean, it's hard for me to articulate. Maybe my command of the English language isn't nearly as good as it should be to even find the words for these pieces of blank that blame others for all their shortcomings. The mayor was shaken. I mean, she acted like she was surprised. Really? Unfreaking believable. So good for you, officers. Turn your back on her. Good for you. Yeah, there's an ad. Merrick Garland prosecute Trump. Paid for by Progressive Turnout Project. The hell? I do have to say, though, the left comes up with some great names for their organizations. And ironically, they always end up being the opposite of what they call them, like the Democratic Republic of North Korea. It makes no sense. Anyway, this is by Cassandra Fairbanks, who I like a lot. She's pretty cool. And she works for Tim Pool now. She was on the other night. I like her a lot. She puts up with no BS, and boy, does she hate PETA. But I digress again. It's, you reap what you sow. And they're like, I mean, she's, the mayor, Lightfoot, is so ridiculous. What did she say, a month ago, 2 months ago? For the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the heck it was, she'll then do interviews with reporters who are not white. I mean, come on, you got to be kidding me. And they get away with this stuff because people in these large cities vote Democrat no matter what. All right, let me put a challenge out to you, always Democrat voters. As a Republican candidate in whatever race you're voting in, a prince or a princess or a great person or whatever you want to call it, what a great candidate? No, they're not. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're great candidates. Stop voting for Democrats. If you can't bring yourself to vote for a Republican, write in a name. Now, I'm on a small channel. I wish I was bigger and I could start a national campaign or my Twitter following was huge, but it's not. None of the above. It's easy to remember, easy to spell, easy to write in the write-in slot. And whether you do it electronically or whether you do it by paper ballot, ran into a machine, whatever it is, there's always a write-in slot. Every state has them by law. And do that. None of the above. I can't vote for the Republican because I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I can't keep voting for Democrats because they don't represent my values anymore and they're bat blank crazy. Show them they can't keep getting away with this nonsense, these policies and practices that kill people and are slowly destroying this republic. You are the power. The voters out there are the real power. Tell them, no, we're not satisfied with you anymore. None of the above. That would be an amazing thing if that could catch on nationwide. All Democrat voters vote none of the above. I mean, New York City had to get so bad back in the 70s and 80s, I believe. I'm not sure when Giuliani was mayor. It had to get so bad before a Republican won. It had to get so ridiculously bad that it was it was impossible to live there. The quality of life was just horrendous before they voted in a Republican mayor. Try it again. And this is something that Donald Trump said. Whether you hate Donald Trump's guts or whether you love him or you're somewhere in between, write in none of the above, all you Democrats from now on for the next 2 or 3 election cycles. And as Donald Trump said, what have you got to lose? Until next time, goodbye and good luck.